400 years. 400 years of a long history of struggles that culminate into what we call the Black experience. If you're Black, especially if you're a Black American, there's certain aspects of your life that are known universally. But the one thing that's always remained unknown is our history.
The King of Portugal lent a colony thither, above 200 years before, whom though the unwholesome air destroyed. Yet the place was not left desolate, for he sent new inhabitants, who first settled in Guinea, next in Angola, and lastly on the island of St. Thomas, so that they might be better used to the air. That the said king sold all those Jews for slaves that refused to embrace the Roman religion, and caused their children to be baptized, from whom, coming together in great numbers, most of the present inhabitants were descended. America being the latest and most accurate description of the New World, containing the original inhabitants and the remarkable voyages thither, by John Ogilvy, Royal Cartographer of Great Britain, 1671. See, there's another plot twist to this exile to St. Thomas. Let's take a closer look to the details of this quote and pay attention to this first line. The King of Portugal lent a colony thither, above 200 years before, whom through the unwholesome air destroyed. Yet the place was not left desolate, for he sent new inhabitants, who first settled in Guinea, next to Angola, lastly on the island of St. Thomas. The unwholesome air destroyed? What is this speaking of? Let's see if we can get another reference on this event. The climate proved to be extremely unwholesome for the Europeans, and the settlement was slow. The official chronicler for King John II, Garcia de Resende, reports on one of the first methods to populate the island. Also throws some light on a tragic form of Jewish participation in the Portuguese Atlantic Empire. The king allowed Jewish refugees from Spain, from which they had been expelled in 1492, to remain in Portugal only in return for payment of an enormous ransom. In 1493, those who could not pay had their children taken away from them, baptized by force, and deported to St. Thomas. The Portuguese exploration of the West and the formation of Brazil, 1400 to 1480, by J.C. Brown, 1988. So what's happening there? And what's making the climate so unsuitable for living that our whole colony was destroyed? And what changed? How were they able to settle it after this event? Well, what made the climate unsuitable for living was malaria. The King of Portugal sent a colony thither above 200 years before, on whom the unwholesome air destroyed. The term malaria means bad air or unwholesome air. This is why the whole colony was destroyed. Because for centuries, West Africa, because of malaria, was uninhabitable by white Europeans, which earned it a certain nickname. Until relatively recent, the West African coast of Africa was notorious as the white man's grave. This reputation was well deserved, for the mortality among European visitors to West Africa was extremely high. None of the 40 Europeans on Mungo Park's second expedition to Niger in 1805 survived, and the mortality on subsequent expeditions to West Africa was extremely high. Ransford, 1983. Missionaries did little better. 60%, again, 60% of the missionaries sent to West Africa by the Church Missionary Society between 1804 and 1825 died. 60%. Malaria waiting for the vaccine by GAT Target. Where's the white man's grave? This is the name which was very rightly given in the old days to parts of the coast of West Africa, when white men first went there for riches of the district and found that those who stayed for only a short time nearly all died or came to death's door. The great cause of this was the fever called malaria. In the course of long ages, the chemistry of the bodies of the natives, aka Negroes, of a malarial district, such as the white man's grave, has become changed, so they can resist the poison of malaria. It does them comparatively little harm. The white man, however, is a very easy prey and is struck down almost at once. The Book of Knowledge, the Children's Encyclopedia, John H. Finley, LLD. Okay, lots of questions here. So how could white Jews thrive while allegedly slaving day in and day out on sugar plantations in Angola, Guinea, and St. Thomas, while being malnourished, beaten, and tortured, while whole missions of white slavers and missionaries are dropping dead in lavish plantation houses and slave castles on 3 meals a day? Get the picture? Quote, nearly 70 years after Allison first reported that carriers of the sickle cell gene were protected against malaria, the molecular basis for the antiplasmodial activity of the sickle cell mutation was found. Because the patient has the sickle cell mutation, the cells infected by the malaria parasite collapse, protecting the human host against malaria. Illuminating Disease, An Introduction to Green Fluorescent Proteins by Mark Zimmer. See, what kept the, quote, natives from malaria wasn't immunity from exposure, but rather the sickle cell trait that they carried. So the only thing that would have protected the Jews from malaria would have been the same sickle cell trait. So who in the world is known for having the sickle cell trait? Well, it's the African American, who is synonymous with the sickle cell trait, to the point that 1 out of every 13 African American babies are born with the sickle cell trait. And remember, these are the same Negroes who are descended from the people taken from the same slave ports that the black Portuguese Jews or Negroes came through. Without the trait, it would have been impossible for white European Jews to come to West Africa and survive slavery. This is why Prince Harry sent the Negro Jews to those colonies. But let's not forget, the writer said that the present-day inhabitants of Angola, Guinea, and St. Thomas were descended from those Jews. This might be why writers like William Armistead wrote in his book, A Tribute to a Negro, that the Portuguese, who had planted themselves on the coast of Africa a few centuries ago, have been succeeded by descendants blacker than many Africans.